hand on the Holy Bible and took the oath of office to serve the people as North Carolina's Insurance Commissioner, I promise myself, my staff, and the citizens of this state that honesty would be the top priority and that this office will be accountable to the people we serve and that we will root out corruption and malfeasance and that leaders will lead. Over the last few days, it's become apparent to me that there's been a significant breakdown in the corporate governance at Blue Cross and Blue Shield, North Carolina. The efforts by the board of directors to hide the arrest of their CEO for drunk driving and child neglect is disturbing. When the news accounts broke last week of the June 22nd incident, that was nearly 3 months after the fact, the board misrepresented to the Department of Insurance the actual arrest, leading me to believe that it was a routine arrest. But this arrest, as the news account showed yesterday, was anything but routine. Dr. Conway showed a lack of professionalism, respect, and composure for law enforcement officers and the legal process. The fact that the board represented to this office, as well as other regulators in other states, is an example of poor judgment and misinformation that cannot be tolerated. As Commissioner of Insurance, I cannot move forward with any type of trust and confidence in this CEO at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. I believe the board has been seriously misled, and this is very troubling to me. Furthermore, the board has failed in their duties to protect their policyholders. They have failed to be open and honest with their regulators, and more importantly, with the people of North Carolina. Dr. Conway demonstrated more than poor decision making by putting his own children at risk, as well as hundreds, if not thousands, of motorists up and down I-85. Dr. Conway demonstrated a lack of professionalism and the utter disregard and disdain for our law enforcement officers. And as a former military policeman in the U.S. Army, that sickens me. So as a result of this lack of leadership and governance by the CEO and board of directors, I am today asking for the resignation of Dr. Patrick Conway as CEO of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. I do not take this action lightly. It pains me greatly because this tragic incident has put a big dent in the reputation of a good company. But there is no path forward for this office to have a trusting, confident, and reliable working relationship with the Chief Executive Officer of Blue Cross, North Carolina. I can deal with the criminal charges as bad as they are, but I cannot accept the cover-up, the misrepresentation of facts, the lack of respect for oversight and regulation of a company, and lack of respect for law enforcement officers who are doing their duty. This is a very, very serious matter. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina is a $10 billion company. I call on the board of directors to fulfill their duty and put this matter behind them by finding a new CEO who can step in with proven leadership and inspiration and lead this company forward. Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, do you have any authority? I mean, can you force him to do
No,
what?
sir, I do not run Blue Cross, I'm a regulator. But it's very disturbing to me what's happened that's come out over the past few days. I didn't see the police report till a day ago, but this is something that should have been seen 3 months ago.
Should he have brought this to your attention? Should he have brought this to your office's attention?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Should he have brought this to your attention or to your office's attention? What happened?
Absolutely. We should have been notified immediately. And there was a letter, as you all may have seen, a letter from the commissioner, insurance commissioner in Washington State, that we had this proposed consolidation, not really a merger, but a tie together or consolidation with the Cambia, 4 states of Blue Cross. And in the agreement says any change, they need to be notified in 2 days, and they weren't notified. So this is a problem. It's gained the attention nationally of insurance regulators, and I'm in the position that I have to make a decision, and I made it this morning.
Mr. Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
That's a very strong allegation of a cover-up. Why make that allegation? What did you see to
Well, what would you call it? This arrest happened on June 22nd. Did anybody know anything about it in June or July or August? I got a call on Thursday morning when it had already broke in the news. So somebody covered something up.
Mr. Commissioner, is there any sort of investigation that the state will be doing in response to this?
Well, we had been working, and I did get a call yesterday from the chairman of Blue Cross notifying me that they have decided to put the brakes on for the time being this consolidation with Campbell. It's not off the table. It's just they're hitting the pause button, as they said, while they sort this out. And I did meet with the board chair and 2 of the top board members Monday morning in my office, and I clearly got the impression that they had not read the police report, and that was very troubling to me.
Have you
With respect to your office, you requesting or asking for his resignation, but realistically, what would it take to force him to resign?
Look, I wrote a letter last Friday, the day after I heard about this. I wrote a letter to the chairman of the Blue Cross board. I called him personally before that letter was sent. I called the vice chairman of the Blue Cross board, and I personally called Dr. Conway that day to let him know that letter was sent. And Dr. Conway had called me Thursday night when the news broke to offer his apologies. At that time, I accepted his apologies. At that time, I did not know the serious nature of this police report. So somebody failed to do their due diligence, and it's my understanding that Blue Cross hired a national public relations firm to guide them. They had the top lawyers. So to me, my job is to protect the policyholders, and that's why I'm here. You know, I have the highest respect for the people that run that organization. I just think they had bad advice on the way this was handled.
Have you?
An apology. What were some of the details or the length of that conversation you had with Dr. Conway? Was it a long conversation?
It was short. He said he was going through a very difficult time right now, and I can feel for him, and it was deeply sorry, and I believe he was genuinely sorry.
Have you communicated with him your wishes that he resign?
I have not communicated with him that. I did send to the board that letter Friday morning, and I'm not telling anybody what to do. I just urged the board at that time, in light of all that's happened, to consider naming an interim CEO while this case is adjudicated in the courts. That was all. Didn't say take him out. But since all of these other allegations and the facts, you had motorists that were filming this for 90 miles, putting people's lives in danger. This is unacceptable. And the first job of leadership is to lead, and if you can't manage yourself, how can you manage others? So
was the board receptive to your recommendation for him to resign? What was that?
They assured me that this is a serious matter, and they are taking this as a serious matter, and are meeting. And yesterday, I just talked to the media yesterday. I was asked, are you calling for his resignation? I said, look, it's not my job to run that organization. I want to let the board do their job. But I guess what did it for me, when I saw those news accounts yesterday of that vehicle and the actual descriptions, quotes from, how long are most police reports? Are they 2 or 3 or 4 pages? This was a 12-page police report. And when I heard that reporter say, Blue Cross stands behind their CEO for now, what does it take to not stand behind your CEO? So that's why I'm saying these things this morning.
Two questions real quick. One is, Blue Cross Blue Shield has a huge footprint on the state. If you're a college student and you don't have insurance, you're automatically, in the public school system, you're automatically on Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes, sir.
How does this resonate across the state?
This affects millions of people in North Carolina. And again, that's my job, is to protect policyholders. And let me be clear, we've had a good working relationship during my tenure as commissioner with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And I hope we'll have a good working relationship going forward. But I consider this a breach of trust, and we just cannot move forward under this current CEO.
And my second question to you is this: is there a time frame for which you're comfortable with seeing action from Blue Cross and Blue Shield on your request that he be terminated or stepped down?
I'm not placing any demands. I'd like to see it done immediately. I believe the court date is set for October the 8th. But again, it's a serious matter. I know that board's taking it seriously, and I look forward to discussing it with any questions they may have.
So when you say cover up, you mean him being he wasn't being Blue Cross was not being forthcoming, in your opinion, with this information? Is that what you deem to be the cover up?
Have you read the police report?
I have not.
You need to read the police report from the Archdale Police Department. It's very telling. And what I'm saying is this CEO was arrested on a Saturday afternoon with his driving under the influence, with his 2 daughters in the car, and nearly wiping out other vehicles. And it was not disclosed to the North Carolina Department of Insurance, nor the Washington Department of Insurance, or the Oregon Department of Insurance, or the Utah Department of Insurance, or the Idaho Department of Insurance. And all of those had an agreement under the Cambia pending consolidation that anything that happened like that was to be disclosed in 2 business days. It was not disclosed. And it's my contention that had the news media not been breaking the story last Thursday, we still wouldn't know about it. So call it what you want to. It was not transparent, and they were not accountable. And that's it.
Did he not take a
If the board
third?
doesn't decide to let go of their CEO, what's next?
I have no idea. I'm just saying that the trust has been broken, and that we'll have a hard time moving forward with that current CEO.
Did he not take a 30-day leave after this incident?
I was told by the board that they kept everything confidential for different reasons, maybe for personnel, for medical information, different things. But he voluntarily went through a 30-day assessment, and they did name an interim CEO during that time. But at the end of the 30 days, they said he's, okay. So, yeah, you'll have to ask those questions with Blue Cross.
So they did take some. They did have some response to this incident. He took a 30-day leave.
They did it internally,
Right.
without notifying anyone. Correct.
Okay. Is there anything other than him stepping down? Anything short of him stepping down that you would be satisfied with? Is there room to talk here with him?
I said, when I initially sent that letter on Friday, I just suggested that the board consider naming an interim CEO while this case is adjudicated. Let it work out through the courts. But when all of this broke yesterday in the news about the specific language and the specific behavior and the utter disregard and disdain for our law enforcement officers, to me, that is more than a problem.
Mr. Commissioner,
Yes, sir.
Conway notified the board the day it happened. Do you believe there are any steps that should be taken to hold the board more accountable in their involvement for this breach of
Well,
trust?
there were many questions. What did the board do? Did the board investigate? Did the board pull the police reports? Did the board do more than hire a public relations firm to make all this go away? I don't know. But they were not forthcoming with me in my office, and that's what I can tell you.
Any other questions? One other, the state is heavily invested with Blue Cross Blue Shield. If there is no action, what should the state do with?
Well, Blue Cross is the administrator of the state health plan.
Yes.
Which is over 800,000 folks. And look, there's great people at Blue Cross. They're very dedicated, hardworking people. It has, over the years, a stellar reputation. It's just a shame that this incident has tarnished a lot of goodwill, and I'm hoping it can be repaired quickly.
And do you think any action should be considered about maybe finding a new provider?
Well, I'm a regulator.
Yeah.
And I have to be fair and even-handed with all carriers. So, I'm all for free and open markets and giving everyone a fair shake, but I think it's too early to say on any of that.
Has anybody reached out to you and said, hey, I know you're having trouble?
No.
Maybe you should consider us?
No, have not.
Any other questions? Everybody, thank you so much.